right, welcome to Saturday Night Child Protection Live with your host, Christopher Gelson, the director and lead teacher of Protect Your Children Incorporated. Hope you can hear me out there. Our computer took a crap earlier this week. Yep, just another expense that happens when you run an organization. And it just died out and there's no recovering it. So we had to switch to a new system. So please let me know out there if you can hear me well, if you can see well, and you can hear well. Please let me know in the chat. Appreciate that greatly. And Pingu the Penguin, love that, by the way, says, hear you fine. That's awesome. Flurg, it's great to see you, man. It's been a little while since we've contacted with you, but it's good to see you out in the chat there. Marie T as well. And who else we got out there? We got, let's see, we got a bunch watching on Rumble right now and a handful others on Facebook. Glad that you are here tonight. We have quite the show tonight, as you can see on the screen. We've got finally, a teacher and a school being sued by a student after a 14-year-old was, you can see it on the screen, by this teacher. And we've been calling for this for some time now. And the way we look at it is with school shooters, for example, right? They've started to charge parents because when parents know that their child is unstable or they leave access to guns and the child uses that gun to go to a school and shoot up the school, and then the child unalives themselves, you know, it's like there's no one left to take responsibility. Well, a lot of states and areas are saying now, you know what, we're going after the parents because they were culpable in this. They knew there was a warning. They knew they shouldn't have left the guns out. And so we agree with that. Parents have to have some responsibility here. And we've got over 320 teachers that were reported arrested just this school year. I'm sure there's much more because we don't see everything, and also because abuse is underreported as it is. But if these schools are going to continue just to do a little simple background check and say, oh, we did our part, background check done, this teacher's good, and they're not doing training, they're not monitoring what the teachers are doing, if they're communicating with kids outside of school, if they are not having seminars and organizations like ours and others come into the school, teach the kids about how to be protected from predators, reassuring them that if anybody, whether it's a teacher or a substitute teacher or a counselor or the freaking principal is doing anything, that they need to report it. So what responsibility does the schools have? We think they have tons. And right now you get that same old, afterwards, well, at so-and-so school district, keeping the kids safe is our first priority. And we do everything to make sure that no, you're not doing anything. We've got hundreds and hundreds of teachers abusing kids, communicating with them on social media, which first of all, shouldn't even be allowed as part of their employment. There's so much more the schools can do. So we're going to talk about that story tonight. And the situation with this 14-year-old boy, this teacher just got 52 more charges added on to her. It's insane. You talk about psycho. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Also, a man was busted with thousands of illegal AI child images. This is another case, not the one we brought a couple of weeks ago, where a man was taking regular photos off of social media. That's right, out there, your kids, and fully clothed or partially clothed off of social media, putting them into a program and removing their clothes, keeping their face, and then selling them to other predators and PDF files. Yeah, thousands of illegal AI child images. We're going to bring you that story as well. Then we had a 12-year-old who was, you see it on the screen, RAPED'd, in a stolen car. And in this situation, oh my God, the driver left the 12-year-old asleep in a running car in a sketchy neighborhood. Someone came and stole the car, found the girl back there, and assaulted her sexually. I mean, what is happening right now? Parents, have we totally not spoke loud enough about responsibility here. Then, of course, there was another substitute teacher arrested for sex with one of their students. We have a huge warning from a new sextortion study, which is going to blow your mind. How about hidden camera pens? You heard me right. Camera pens. Little cameras disguised as pens hidden in family bathrooms on a boardwalk in New Jersey. Yep, capturing every child and every person that used that bathroom. Yeah, that's coming up too, and a bunch more other stuff. So, Tracy, servant of Christ, good to see you in the chat. Glad that you were here. We asked that you would share this stream. You can click share right now and get it out there. Again, we only have usually 5, maybe on a good night, 10 live listeners. And that's kind of sad, but we are encouraged by the amount of podcast listens that we have on the show after the fact. So, but we ask that you would like and share this to get it out there to people so the algorithm can pick it up and we can get more people interacting, because that's what it's all about. You know, we don't want to just preach to the choir here, but when the choir is listening, the choir has good ideas, and we want the choir to reach the people that are not in the choir. So please help out by doing that, and we appreciate you for that. I want to tell you about our website, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. In-depth protection packet. Man, you're like, man, we're tired of hearing this guy talk about this. Yes, it's so important. This in-depth protection packet right here, you can't miss it. Look at this, boop, boop, right here. It's calling you. It's saying, click on me, read me, sit down with your child and go over the information with them. This is very important information that will teach your kids how to identify predators, how to be safe from predators, safe from kidnapping. It'll teach your kids what the threats and the traps and the tricks and everything else that these people use. There's so much great information in that in-depth protection packet. So please check that out. Our live shows, podcasts are here on the website, and a whole lot more. Tips on preventing kidnapping, child protection videos. There's, zip code predator searches. We do background checks free of charge. We actually just did one this week for somebody, and we don't charge anything for that. We do ask for a nominal donation, $5, to help offset the cost of the programs that we use. But if you can't do that, it is not required. We will do it for free for you if you're thinking that somebody dangerous might be around your child, or you just want to be proactive. So we do background checks for free. You can donate to help us out by clicking the link on our website. Heaven knows we need the money. We mentioned earlier this week that we have a total of $50 a month being donated right now, $50, which we're very thankful for. But we can tell you that it's not enough to do the work that we need to do. It's just not. Like, let's just say, like, just to keep the bank accounts up, that's $25 a month right there. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard, but we need your donations if you can help us out. All tax-free, of course. And all sorts of other stuff on our website. So protectyourchildren.org. Check that out. Appreciate you doing that. And let's take a look at the chat. See what's going on in here. Everybody says here it can hear you fine. That's very good. All right. Appreciate that. All right. We want to bring you a missing child alert tonight. You know, we do cover missing children. We've been working on a couple of cases, and in a little bit, we're going to talk to you about another case that unfortunately the child is no longer with us. It was from years ago. And we are now actively investigating to find the perp responsible for what they did to this child. And it's been rough. It's been a rough road. There's days it's very hard. We're going through all the details, through all the information. We're working with the child's mother. And it's hard. It's hard. But there's a monster out there still that horribly, horribly hurt a little child. And we want to find this guy. We want to bring him to justice. And you guys can help us do that. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on. But we do like to feature different missing children on this live show for people that may not be aware of the fact that there are so many kids missing. I mean, it is ridiculous. Like, we're getting alerts all the time now. And it's all these teenage kids And I'm like, what is happening right now? You know, I mean, it's really, really sad. But this is 16-year-old Elizabeth Stalcup. This is put out from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This is in Spokane, Washington, in that area. This is what her mother said. Elizabeth, I'll do whatever it takes to bring you home. I love you to the moon and back at least 27 times. Must be a private thing with them. But you and I both know that it's even more than that. Please come home. Yes, she's a runaway. 16-year-old Elizabeth Stalcup was last seen leaving her school in Spokane, Washington on June 13th, 2025. She may be traveling a late 1990s to early 2000s Toyota Tacoma with a canopy and rack with black wheels. You'll see the picture down there. Law enforcement believe that Elizabeth may still be in the local area of Spokane or may travel to surrounding cities in Washington or Idaho. Elizabeth's mom, Sarah, is very concerned for her safety and wants nothing more than to bring her back home. And of course, if you have any information, you can contact National Center for Missing and Exploited Children or the Spokane County Sheriff's Office. The number is there on the screen. But look her up, Elizabeth Stalcup, Spokane, Washington. If you know anybody in that area, please share this. Share this up in that area. Beautiful teenager here, obviously running away. Something else is going on in her life, but she's going to be in danger. When these kids run away, they're usually in the hands of a predator or a trafficker or something to that effect. And certainly we want her to be home. So please do your part and help us out with that. Here's another shot. Elizabeth Stalcup, missing since June 13, Spokane, Washington, 16 years old. Spokane County Sheriff's Office. So please share the information. I appreciate that and help bring her home, or at least encourage her to come home. Like, people can post things up in that area and she could see it. And when she realizes how many people love her and care about her, she might just return home. So, and that's what our hope is. So thank you for that. All right. Tracy says prayers that she is found safe. Yes, absolutely. You know, it's always harder with runaways because when they run away, they're trying to not be found. That's just what happens. Like, when they run away, they know that people are going to be looking for them, and they go to the extra nth degree to make sure that no one finds them. So the only thing that can really help is people spotting her, excuse me, and letting law enforcement know. And also maybe her seeing on social media and all around how much people really love her, you know, and that there is help for her situation no matter what it might be, you know. So you have to appeal to her heart. And if she's able to come home, and we pray that she will. So that's Elizabeth Stalcup. So, all right. Let's take a look at this story about this 12-year-old who was RAPED'd in a stolen car. This is just unbelievable to me. This is just sheer incompetence. And we're kind of hoping that the driver of the car gets charged with something, because you left a 12-year-old alone in a running car. What are you doing? Like, and especially when that 12-year-old was asleep. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. So let's listen to this. We'll be right back.
But we begin with an arrest in the kidnapping and rape of a 12-year-old girl. A teenager is facing charges in the heinous crime.
Yeah, the 17-year-old is accused of stealing a car while the girl was sleeping inside. Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson live outside Special Victims Unit in Hunting Park with what we know about the disturbing details. Sharifa.
Well, Brian, Sarah, I can tell you, police say that the family of the victim, even investigators, are really grateful that this suspect was taken into custody rather quickly. They say the 17-year-old was arrested this morning at his home in West Philadelphia. There's relief today as news broke that the car thief and sexual assault suspect was taken into custody. Police say it was a 17-year-old at the center of Friday's disturbing missing child case.
It's just tragic all around.
In the 25th district will be a found abduction. The victim was an off-white Ford Taurus. There's a juvenile in the rear of the vehicle.
It all began around 9:30 Friday evening. The Ford Taurus was left running with the keys still in the ignition along Germantown and Erie Avenues. The 12-year-old was sleeping in the back seat when police say the suspect stole it. The frantic search for the girl lasted nearly 30 minutes.
About 20 minutes later, at around 9:53 p.m., Our brave survivor was located at Broad Street and Roosevelt Boulevard.
Investigators say before being dropped off, she was raped by the car thief. The car was later recovered in West Philadelphia along 54th and Popular Streets. Police say DNA and evidence left in the vehicle played a huge role in this arrest.
That evidence was submitted to our Office of Forensic Science, where it was processed and analyzed, resulting in a positive DNA hit.
And this arrest took less than a week. Today, Captain Parker repeatedly calling the survivor brave for her role and participation in making this arrest happen.
She's going through the motions, the challenges, but I will say she's very smart, she's very intelligent, and she's one brave little girl.
We're told that teen was set to be arraigned today. We're waiting to see if this teen will be charged as an adult. He's being charged with rape, contact with a minor, and other related offenses. We're live from the Special Victims Unit in Hunting Park. Sharifa Jackson, Channel 6, Action News.
Okay, I mean, need we say more about this? You know, but this is what we're dealing with. And Pingu in the chat says, I gotta go, I'm freaking out. This is just too much for my little brain to get around. Listen, we understand. And, you know, the reason why that we bring these stories is to wake people up. And maybe there's some shock value to it. But people have to realize the dangers that are out there. And they need to be preemptive in protecting their kids, no matter what the costs. Especially not leaving your 12-year-old alone in a car that's left running at nighttime. I mean, what are you doing? You know, and there's a lot of situations where parents need to be more responsible and guardians need to be more responsible. Maybe they're just not aware of how bad it is out there for kids. Maybe they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just crazy. But they have to wake up and start taking the precautions that are necessary. And it becomes second nature. It really does. When you put on the mama bear attitude, or the Papa Bear attitude, and you learn to keep your eyes open, and you learn to be nosy, and you learn to question things if they don't seem right, when you take precautions, you can keep your kids safe. That's the good news. But there's too many parents that just are not doing it right now. Barbara Ann, welcome to the chat. Glad you're here. Thanks for joining the show. But parents have to do a better job. Guardians have to do a better job. We've been screaming at the top of our lungs forever. We're like, come on. What's going on here? How about this piece of work? This comes from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office down in Tampa, Florida. On June 10th, a substitute teacher was arrested for sharing several sexual images with students while working at Jennings Middle School. Okay? 11, 12. 13-year-old, he's sharing sexual images with the students. Detectives learned on December 9th, 2024. Good God, does it take that long? I mean, what do we got, June, December? Like, come on. What do we got, 7 months there? Chase Rush, 22, shared explicit content with 11 of his 7th grade students. It's revolting to think that someone trusted to educating God our children could act in such a predatory and disgraceful manner, said Sheriff Chad Chronister. This man used his role as a teacher to prey on kids. He had every opportunity to be a positive influence. Instead, he chose to become a predator. I'm sorry, but he does fit the description. Look at this freak. He was charged with film, distribute, or possess image or video of sexual activity with an animal, sell or distribute obscene material to a minor, transmission of harmful material to a minor, unlawful use of two-way communications device. I mean, in the school system. See, and this is what we're talking about. Schools need to be held responsible. They're putting these creeps in their school, and they're saying, well, how are we supposed to know? We did a background check. Come on, wake up. 88% of child predators have yet to be arrested. That's a true stat. And they know that from years of statistics. The average predator doesn't get caught for a period of 3 to 5 years. And in most cases, longer than that. So a background check's not going to do crap. These teachers that they bring in there, substitute or other, need to have psychosexual evaluations. They need to monitor what they're doing. They need to teach the kids how to be safe. Instead of giving us that nice little sob story, oh, yeah, kids, we want to keep them safe. That's our priority. How about doing something about it? Gosh. It's unbelievable.
So right now, a substitute teacher who was working at Jennings Middle School in the Nonasassa is facing charges accused of showing sexual images to students. Officers say 22-year-old Chase Rush, seen here, sent pictures to 4 7th graders using the airdrop feature on the iPhone and then showed several others in the classroom. The content included nudity and bestiality. They say he also admitted to showing it to his 12-year-old relative. The sheriff's office says Rush was employed by Kelly Education. That's a staffing company, and is not a school district employee.
Well, the school made sure they were making it clear that he's not employed by us. Florrick says another predator to animals. What else is new? This is the kind of depravity that we've sunk down to as a human race, right? That this is what's happening. How does someone like that even get into the school system in the first place? Well, we did a background check. It was clear. Looked like a decent guy. Had good references. They've got to do more. They've got to do more. How about this? Thousands of AI images, people. Again, these are images that are being created from regular photos off of social media that parents are freely posting to get likes and compliments. Oh, look at my daughter in her new swimsuit. Look at my son in his gymnastics. Look at my son at baseball. Look at my daughter. Like, oh, just put it all out there. And these sick, twisted predators are using, there's computer programs that do this. There's one called Nudify that's out there, kid you not, where these predators are taking the pictures that everyday people are posting on social media, and they're putting them into these programs, and they're removing the clothes of the kids, keeping the face, mind you, but removing the clothes. So it looks like they're nude, and then using those images and selling them online and trading them with predators and other PDF files. Does this sound scary? Well, it should. Because this is the nature of technology today. Why is an app or a program like called Nudify even being allowed is a good question. But this Illinois college student had thousands of AI generated child porn images. Thousands. God knows how many victims. Unbelievable.
A student at Northern Illinois University has been charged with creating and disseminating child porn by digitally manipulating images through artificial intelligence.
The use of AI to create child porn is a growing problem. Dane Placco has the latest on this latest arrest. Dane.
I have to tell you, this is a very disturbing story involving artificial intelligence, deepfake photos, but some very real victims. DeKalb County sheriffs have charged 19-year-old Michael B. Erickson, a native of Batavia, attending Northern Illinois University, with 21 counts of possession, creation, and dissemination of child sexual abuse materials. Acting on a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, police say they conducted a search of Erickson's dorm room at Stevenson Tower on the NIU campus and found multiple electronic devices containing thousands of child porn images. Many of the pictures were of underage girls Erickson knew while attending Batavia High School, taken from their social media accounts, then turned into porn using artificial intelligence programs.
So it could be a photograph of that victim standing there fully clothed. Once he submitted the photograph into this program, then it would keep their face, their body, but it would remove the clothing that was in the photograph and then made them nude.
The criminal complaint says Erickson was then selling those images on Snapchat. When asked by a Snapchat user, "Why do you make so many?" Erickson responded, "To sell them to boys." How big a problem is this becoming?
Oh, it's by leaps and bounds the new technology because it's so easy.
Rich Wistocki is a former Naperville detective who's a nationally recognized expert on child cyber crimes. He says AI deepfake porn is spreading unchecked online and says many of the AI companies that are based overseas need to be held accountable.
They need to be working close with the National Center and say, all right, what do we do? What do we need to do to catch this? Instead of thinking about the money and getting it.
In a statement, a spokesperson for Northern Illinois University says the university has been made aware that a student was arrested under serious charges. The student no longer lives in campus housing. The investigation into Erickson continues with a focus on finding more AI victims from the Batavia area.
We have some parents that have reached out to us from that area, and we're still trying to see if there's more that we can identify, and we would go from there.
The DeKalb County judge ordered Erickson released from custody on Tuesday, pending several stipulations that he wear an electronic monitoring device, keep away from minors and schools, and also not use the internet. Live downtown, Dane Placco, Fox 32 Chicago.
Did he really just get released on bond? They find thousands of images on several different devices, and this guy gets out on bond? Like, I don't even know what to say. It's unbelievable. Anna Mayo, thank you for joining the show. Good to see you in the chat. Anna says, so young, so many ruined lives over money earned in a predatory way. You know, isn't that something? It's almost like these psychos, these PDF files, man. They want control. They get off on this garbage, but then as a side little dessert benefit for them, they sell it and make money. Like, it's unbelievable. Everything's got an electronic trace today. There's a digital footprint for everybody, but yet millions of these people are being able to like trade this stuff and sell this stuff, and nobody can figure out who it's going to or where it's coming from. Marie T says that's Illinois for you. There's been a lot of crazy stuff. Whew, man. Let's keep moving. How about this? Yeah, do you ever think you got to be looking for pens that are cameras? Let me tell you something. You better teach your kids about this. They need to be aware, especially using public bathrooms. This was in New Jersey on the boardwalk. Unbelievable, right? Police find hidden cameras in bathrooms at Ocean City Boardwalk in New Jersey. Yeah, these cameras today, buttons, pens, smoke detectors, cell phone chargers, they're disguised in all of those things, which we wonder why they're legal to sell, because obviously they're going to be used for spying and for predatory scumbags. But that is exactly what happened up in New Jersey. Let's check out the story.
Now to a troubling discovery at the Jersey Shore. Police in Ocean City are investigating after several cameras were found inside public restrooms on the boardwalk. NBC 10's Siobhan McGurl is live in Ocean City. And Siobhan, you spoke with a woman who found one of these cameras.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a fun day down the shore for this woman. Instead, she made this disturbing discovery right here at the public restrooms at 6th Street. She says she found a hidden camera in the family restroom.
You hear stuff like this all the time happening. You just never really think that you're going to encounter it.
Fallon Conway was down the shore Thursday, soaking in the warm weather in Ocean City with her friend and friend's child when they stopped to use the family restroom at 6th Street. Inside, Conway says she saw this sticking out behind a trash can.
Immediately, it was weird. It was off.
She picked it up and realized what looked like a pen was actually a camera. Describe how you felt when you realized this was a camera.
My heart dropped. It was striking.
That discovery prompted Ocean City police to search all public restrooms on the boardwalk. They found several additional cameras at both 10th Street and 11th.
I would have never imagined somewhere like, especially Ocean City.
This is supposed to be a family resort. This is supposed to be like a nice place to come and like enjoy time, and it just feels like it's been like disrespected, and it's gross.
We saw police in the area Friday. The department says officers will remain near the restrooms to conduct additional checks. Ocean City's mayor assuring the public that detectives will use every available resource to find the person who placed the cameras.
I can't even fathom it. Like, I can't understand it. You know what I mean? I don't even know what to say to people like that, because who does that?
As Conway awaits answers, she just hopes this serves as a reminder.
Be careful. Know your surroundings. You know what I mean? You seriously never know when you're going to come across something like this.
Of course, if anyone knows anything Ocean City Police want to hear from you, we have that information at our NBC 10 app. In Ocean City, I'm Siobhan McGurl, NBC 10 News.
Yeah, now we got to look out for that. You know, we had a case about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think we mentioned it on the air, but there was a case where a 13-year-old child found a small digital camera, Bluetooth, in the bathroom in their home. No joke. And it was in the bathroom in the corner, aiming upwards. No one knew how long it was there, but he spotted it, brought it to his parents, and we helped them figure out who it came from. But it was somebody that was in their freaking home, which reminds us that the majority of kids are abused by somebody that they already know or that the family already knows. Stranger abuse and stranger abduction is very rare. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't look out for it, but it's not the majority of the cases. Marie T says in the chat, just because it's a nice place doesn't mean freaks aren't there. Yeah, freaks are everywhere. But this is what we're talking about. It's about becoming more aware, being proactive, being alert. You mean I have to check the bathroom every time we go in? Yeah, it takes like a second. I mean, you just open the door, take a quick look around, nothing's sticking out, nothing looks weird, good to go. That's all. But it becomes part of your daily habits, your daily ritual. It's just what you do, like breathing. It just becomes second nature. But this is what's happening today. Man, coming up, we got another substitute teacher that was arrested for sex with a student. We got a huge warning from a new sextortion study. We're going to talk to you a little bit about another case that we're working on. It's very disturbing. Unfortunately, the child is no longer with us. This was a 24-year-old case. We've mentioned it before, and we're trying to find the monster who is responsible, and we're going to need your help to do that, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And we're going to look into the fact that this school and this teacher right there on the screen is being sued, and we think it's about time that schools are being held responsible for what's happening to these kids. But first, let me share some stuff to you about sextortion. Okay? There's a new study from the Child Rescue Coalition. 1 in 12 children experience online sexual exploitation. That's 1 in 12. Just think about that. If you're one of the good school teachers, or you're a youth worker at a church or something like that, and there's more than 12 kids in a group or in a classroom, you guarantee one of them or more has experienced online sexual exploitation. I mean, this is becoming a rampant epidemic. A new global study by Georgia State University and the Childlight Global Child Safety Institute, that's a mouthful, estimates that 1 in 12 children, or 8% worldwide, have experienced online sexual exploitation or abuse. This includes unwanted sexual conversations, non-consensual image sharing, and sexual extortion, otherwise known as sextortion. Just in the past year, there's been a 117% increase in reports of sextortion. 117% increase. This is scary times. If you have your children online with their smartphone or their Nintendo Switch or their PS, PlayStation, or their Xbox, however else they're accessing it, the home computer or a laptop for school or a laptop in their room or whatever, and they have access to the internet, You have basically given the world access to your children. And if they are not supervised, if there are no parental monitoring apps, programs running on those devices, your kids are at risk of sextortion. That's just the bottom line. So what parents should know about sextortion? What is it? Sextortion is a form of child sexual exploitation where children are threatened or blackmailed, most often with the possibility of sharing with the public nude or sexual images of them by a person who demands additional sexual content, sexual activity, or money from the child. The crime may happen when a child has shared an image with someone or when someone creates fake explicit content of the child. What were we just looking at? The creep, the perv, the PDF file, who created thousands of AI-generated images from kids online that parents have posted their pictures on social media. You see, this is one thing they do with it. They take those pictures, remove the clothes, keep the face, and then contact the kids and say, look what we got. Well, that's not me. That's not a real picture. No one's going to believe that. Well, let's find out. Send me money or meet with me or I'm going to put these all over the internet. Sextortion. Now, how do offenders gain access? The victim often knows their offender. There we go. We talked about that just a second ago. Says who is typically a current or former romantic partner. In other instances, the offender is someone the victim only knows online. That's usually what happens. In financial sextortion, the offender often makes initial contact online and victimization happens quickly after that. Additionally, the offender might create explicit content using generative AI and use it to victimize the child. Well, how does it happen? See, this is stuff parents that kids need to know. I mean, if you want to skip the whole rest of the show after it's done, don't leave now, but and just fast forward to this part and so your kids can see it. That please do that. But here's how it happens. The offender typically initiates contact with the victim on social media platform, using it to learn about the child's interests, their friends, their school, their family, etc. Then they ask the child to move to a second or third platform that uses encrypted messaging systems like Discord, big one. The sextortion may also be perpetrated by an ex-romantic partner, as kids could have romantic partners, but you know how they are today, who received the image from the victim. Then they use coercive tactics. Offenders use various tactics such as offering something of value, money, drugs, in exchange for sexual material, pretending to work for a modeling agency. Marie T can talk about that. Pretending to be younger and appear to have a romantic interest, creating fake sexual material of the child or hacking accounts to steal sexual images. And then, of course, threats. The offender may use the threat of spreading the image to force the victim into staying in or returning to the relationship. Acquiring additional sexual content or obtaining money from the child. They may also threaten to physically assault the child or their family or ruin the child's life with false narratives. This absolutely crazy. Barbara in the chat said, parents, don't be afraid to talk openly with your children. Absolutely. Listen, education, awareness, and parental involvement. When those three things are plentiful, when those three things are being used every day, all the time, you watch the amount of victims decrease. Because a lot of this comes from kids not being aware, parents not being aware, or parents not being involved. Man. I'm telling you, it's crazy. And it's easy for these people. Tracy, servant of Christ, said, because it's easy for them. Absolutely. There are so many kids that are looking for attention. They've got holes in their hearts. They got a void in their life. They've gone through traumas. They've gone through divorces. The parents, family issues. Kids are increasingly feeling isolated and alone thanks to all these new devices. They spend their hours and their time watching everyone else's life and ignoring their own. And that leads kids into very vulnerable situations. And then they go online and somebody says, hey, I care about you. I know what you're going through. You're beautiful. You're handsome. You're cute. All the compliments. And they fall into this trap. Marie T in the chat said that's what happened with my daughter, the modeling stuff. She gave the perp our phone number and address. Praise God, she felt safe enough to come to us and tell us. Absolutely. God, you see that all over Instagram. So-and-so modeling agency. Looking to be a model? Send me a message, it says. Oh, my gosh. It's just scary stuff. So sextortion is on the rise, 117% increase in the last year. Barbara says because parents nowadays are too busy for their children and use devices as babysitters. Yeah, it's called tech sitting. You're right. They got tech sitters now. It's absolutely crazy. Now, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. Many of you know that we've been investigating the case of Zachary Bernhardt, missing child since September 11th of 2000. We are continuing to work on that case. Of course, what we're doing going forward is staying off the public platforms because we're getting to a point in the investigation where we can no longer share information. But we will keep you updated on what's going on with that. A lot of you may not know that about a year or so later, another boy was taken from the same apartment complex. 5-year-old boy. He was, we'll refer to him as John Doe at the request of his mother. He was taken by this man, driven considerable distance north. The child was sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, and left in a dumpster. The child survived, was able to climb out of the dumpster, starts walking along State Road 48 up near Bushnell, Florida. Passerby seen the child, got him to safety. He gets reunited with his mom. The police basically told the family that now that the boy is found, their work is done. We don't believe they have tried to find the perpetrator, the monster that harmed this child. Maybe not since the very beginning. We know that they did a lot of work initially in the first few weeks. We're currently going through a trove of documents and research. This child grew up and sadly took his own life. The fact that there is a monster out there, still, as far as we know, God knows how many other kids he's harmed, but we want to find him. We have a lot of information. We got people looking into it. We're connecting dots. This little boy deserves justice. And the man that did this to him not only deserves to be in hell, but he deserves to be in prison. And we want to find him. The mother is being very cooperative with us. We're working with her. And we are now adding that, and we have actually been for the past few weeks, to the things that we're doing in the area of missing children and kidnapping cases. Let me tell you something, that the work we do isn't always easy. Some of you saw a post we did about a week and a half ago that said, send us some encouragement. We need some encouragement because it gets hard. And as we're looking into this case of John Doe, and we're reading the details, what happened to him, it's heartbreaking and it's enraging. And the fact that the police are no longer trying to find the person that did it because it's been so long, like so many other cases that seem to just fall off the desks of these detectives, infuriates us. The mother, the family, and John Doe deserve justice. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be asking you to help us do that. Help us find this guy. There's nothing worse than a child being harmed. But then to know that the person who did it is running around scot-free. That is like adds to the trauma. So, we haven't shared this before, but we're sharing it now. If you or you know somebody, an amateur sleuth or an investigator or somebody that wants to volunteer to help us, we're talking about more than just sharing social media. We're talking about you want to volunteer to help us in a missing person case that we're working on. We ask you to go to our website and click on the volunteer to help in a missing persons tab. Fill out your information. You can see it on the screen. We will tell you that if you are going to help us in any of these cases, it will require personal information. It will require a background check, and we will have to clear you with all the information that we know and law enforcement has shared. All that information is confidential. It will not be shared with anybody. No one else will know that you're helping us out. But the case of John Doe is 24 years old or so, and we're going to need a lot of people doing some research and connecting dots. Zachary's case from 2000 will be 25 years old in September. But we need help. We need volunteers to help us out. So if you're interested in doing that, you got a heart for this, go to our website, fill out the form, send it to us, and we'll be in touch with you. And all information is kept confidential. If you're not interested in doing that, you can donate to help us out. Those of you who follow us, you know the work we do. We believe it stands for itself. We work very hard to keep kids safe. We're on social media every day. We're doing live shows. We're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes too to help with missing child cases and other things that require finances that we do not have. As I mentioned, we receive $50 a month right now. That's all we receive. We are not government funded. We are not corporately funded. So everybody, as part of this organization, uses their own money to help keep things moving. And we're extremely limited. So you can visit our website, protectyourchildren.org, click on Donate to Help Protect if you feel moved to help us out. Tax-free. And it will go only to helping to find kids. We thank you in advance for that. All right. Let's look at the chat real quick and see what's going on here. Anna Mayo says, almost makes you wonder if the police have someone on their team that shouldn't be there. I hate to think or say that. Yeah, I mean, that's always a possibility. Anna, they've thought that about the Zachary case. It's just the case with John Doe. We've been going through a lot of reports and a lot of information, and we see why it's difficult. I mean, it's taking us hours and hours to go through all the information, and there's a lot of conflicting information, and You're dealing with some witnesses that were children at the time, so the stories aren't lining up. There's a lot of it's a much harder case to look at. But the fact that the police aren't continuing to try to solve that, or at least take a fresh look at it, is just an injustice. It's a disgrace, because that means that the person that did this to John Doe is still out there. And by the police or the FBI not investigating it anymore, there's other kids that can be harmed by this guy. And that is not all right. And that's why we're bringing it back into the spotlight. Too many cases. Too many cases have gone quiet. They're not cold cases, mind you. No, they're still open, which means the public can't access information. But just because the case is open doesn't mean it's being investigated actively. What it basically means is if a tip comes in, yeah, we'll look at it. We'll follow it. But that's all. Detectives aren't on social media contacting people looking for information. They're not paying to promote content, trying to get tips, trying to filter through all that. They're no longer, technology has advanced so much in 20 years that the information we're able to find out in just a few weeks is like, we're sure it's more than what the police have been able to find out at that time. Because now there's the advent of social media and a whole lot of other technologies, even AI, which AI can be used for good, not for like what these PDF files are doing with it. But there's so much more chance now to get information. And we're finding that there are people that are wanting to talk, that are wanting to share what they know. People that like in Zachary's case, people that have been wondering for 20 years, what happened to this child? What's happening with the case? And they're reaching out to us and they're saying, thank you, Protect Your Children Incorporated, that you're still looking into this. We have always wondered what happened. This is almost 25 years later. There are people that care. But ultimately, it comes down to two things. One, people investigating it, and law enforcement investigating it, and then finding and prosecuting people who are involved. Unfortunately, the police aren't doing crap actively. So that means organizations like ours and others need to get all the information together, connect the dots, put it together, and present it to law enforcement so that they will go do something. We got to do the work for them. And that's what we're working on doing. Not only for Zachary, but for John Doe. And you can help us to do that. All right. Let's briefly take a look at this. We're going to wrap up here in about 15 minutes. Thank you for sticking with us. This is Saturday Night Child Protection Live, hosted by Protect Your Children Incorporated, every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We'll be sharing the podcast on our social medias for the next couple of days. We encourage you to share it and tell people about it who need to be aware. Tell people to get their heads out of the sand and start becoming aware. Stop running from the problem. Like this crazy person on the screen. We're going to find out about here in a minute. Encourage people to do something. Let's look into this. Student is now suing after teacher rapes him in classroom on graduation day. Here's your graduation present. Yeah. Get RAP'd by a freaking predator teacher. You got to be kidding me. What were the warning signs that were missed? We'll find out.
Former teacher Michelle Solis is serving time in prison for locking a teenage boy in her classroom and raping him on graduation day. Now that victim is suing Solis and the school district. His lawyer is here. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Michelle Solis is serving a 4-year sentence in a California prison for having sex with a 14-year-old boy. The boy was one of Solis's students at Sycamore Middle School in Gridley, California. His lawyer will join me with details about this lawsuit that they filed against Solis and the school district in just a bit. The assault happened back in June of 2021. Solis and the boy were 29 years apart in age. The DA says Solis, a wife and mother of 2, started following the boy on Instagram in the weeks leading up to graduation. DA Mike Ramsey told me last summer, after Solis was sentenced, that the boy liked the attention he was receiving from Solis at first. But then on graduation day, Solis committed the ultimate act of betrayal. The 14-year-old boy was brought into her classroom at Sycamore Middle School. Solis locked the door and forced herself on him. The grooming had started with messages, and then she sent him explicit photos of herself, 4 to be exact. Here's DA Mike Ramsey.
This was particularly, well, in a sense, disgusting by virtue of the fact that this 14-year-old boy was just sucked in to this situation by this teacher that obviously was sending Instagram and Snapchat kind of flirtatious activity over the phone, over the social media, and then photos, and then eventually into the classroom on the morning of his 8th grade graduation. Brought him in, locked the door, and had sex with him. And he, as he indicated, he was pretty shocked and confused and didn't know what was going on. He had felt that the attention that the teacher was giving him was good at the beginning, but then to suddenly get to this point really was, for this boy, as he said later, he said he felt he had been raped. His friends noticed and his family noticed the entire change in his attitude.
Police started investigating in October of 2023 and found messages between Solis and the teen. Investigators discovered other disturbing information.
That became apparent in our investigation that she had been warned at other times to not be down at the level of her students. She had been kind of chastised that she was.
There we go. See? Now, in this case, it's pretty clear, right? Because the school apparently warned her several times. Look, you're being immature. You're being like a child. You shouldn't be interacting with your students this way. And you know, and they didn't fire her. They just said, "Don't be doing that." And they let her stay on staff, knowing that she was clearly messed up. Haven't they seen the news? Don't they know about all the teachers? And they let her stay there.
Was acting too much like an 8th grader with her students, that she was doing social media. She, in fact, we had one indication from some of the girls in her class that she seemed to want them out of the class so she could be alone with the boys and act flirtatious with them.
Now, the fact that Solis had been warned about being so friendly with students will likely be very important in this civil lawsuit that the victim has now filed. The suit claims sexual assault of a minor, negligent hiring, supervision and/or retention of Michelle Solis by district employees, and negligent supervision of plaintiff by district employees. The suit makes a number of claims, including that the district knew or had a reason to know that Solis was grooming male students. The suit says Solis engaged in highly inappropriate behavior, including but not limited to spending time alone with minor male students, communicating with minor male students outside of school hours, sending inappropriate sexual text messages to minor male students, providing naked photos of herself to minor male students, and isolating minor male students in her classroom behind closed and/or locked doors during school hours.
We did cover the story. I mean, we're just sitting here shocked. We covered the story a while back, as Marie T points out in the chat. And now she's being sued, and the school is being sued. And we say, it's about freaking time. Listen, how hard is it for the Department of Education or the school districts, heck, even the individual schools at this point, to make a policy that says to teachers, and when they sign it when they get hired, that they are prohibited from communicating with students outside of school appointed devices, okay, or programs. That means no social media. That means you're not calling the student at home on their cell phone, okay? And if they're caught doing it even once, you're fired. That's it. Because every single one of these freaking teachers have communicated with these students on social media, and sometimes for months and months and months, and nobody knew. Again, that goes back to the parents that need to be randomly checking these kids' phones and having parental monitoring on their phones. The schools can take simple steps that will go a long way, but they refuse to do it. Now, maybe if they start being sued and start losing their funding, and okay, maybe they'll start to step up and do something about the problem. We can only hope. We can only hope.
The suit also claims that Solis used her privileges and relationships with other school staff members to gain access to students. The suit states, during the 2020-2021 school year, Solis gave plaintiff special attention, including spending time alone with him in her classroom after school under the guise of helping him with homework. Solis also had a district yard duty supervisor write passes for plaintiff to spend time in Solis's classroom alone during recess and lunch. During that school year, Solis sent inappropriate sexual photographs of herself to plaintiff. Cases like this one involving former teacher Michelle Solis go to show you just how important it is to make sure that the people your children are around are safe. Truthfinder.com can help you do that. Truthfinder is one of the largest public records search services. I searched for Michelle Solis and came up with old traffic citations for her for speeding. Her criminal conviction for sex crimes involving the student is fairly new, so it's not on there yet, but it will be eventually. And what's really great about Truthfinder, it will show you the sex offenders who live in your neighborhood. It also shows you past addresses, possible relatives, and social media accounts for people that you search. So right now, I have a great deal for you. You can get 50% off of confidential background reports. Just log on to www.truthfinder.com/LCCrimeFix. Log on and start accessing information about almost anyone. Mark Boscovich represents the student in this case, and he has filed the lawsuit. Mark, thanks for coming on. First off, how is your client doing?
He's taking it day by day. There's some are worse than others. I think often, same with the experience of my client, but with many clients, it's a roller coaster. And depending on what you're doing and what you're involved in, it will affect where you are on that roller coaster, whether you're on a up or a down. What I can say is that over the course of this criminal trial and now the civil case, been a lot of sleepless nights for my client, and feeling very isolated in this situation. Because this is a small community and a lot of people were not on his side, and it was very difficult to even say his story during the extent of the criminal case, because there are people giving him dirty looks and people flipping him off and just doing things that were completely uncalled for. This is not something.
Okay, hold on a second. Can you believe this? What the heck is wrong with our society and the human race? You hear what he just said? The child was being given dirty looks, been flicked off, being harassed for coming forward and exposing this predator teacher. Is that how bad it's gotten? Like, who in that freaking right mind is defending a predator teacher? 29 years older than the student. But people were giving the victim crap? I mean, are we upside down? Like, what's going on right now? Oh, my gosh.
He asked for. He anticipates he'll probably get these kind of responses again, but in the end, he wants to do the right thing. And make sure that the district is held accountable for this.
Why were people treating your client poorly? That's kind of shocking to me. I mean, were they on the side of Michelle Solis, or what was going on?
That's our suspicions. We can't say for sure without getting in those people's minds, but I imagine a lot of people were siding with this lady. It could be they knew her. It could be they just don't believe in these kind of lawsuits or these kind of cases. It's unclear, but what is clear is that there was a lot of animosity directed towards my client for telling his story.
One thing that, we've covered a lot of these cases here on this show. And one thing that really bothers me a lot as a mom and just as a, a human being in general is the fact that, there are these stereotypes that, it's a boy. So they probably liked it. And this is every, teenage boy's fantasy. It's really not. It scars kids when these things happen. And at the time, your client was 14 years old. Michelle Solis, she's in prison now. She's serving time. So she's been convicted of this in a court of law. I mean, he was locked in a room with her and sexually assaulted. So talk to me about, the emotional impact of this on your client and the fallacy about, teenage boys thinking this is cool.
Yeah, that fallacy absolutely does not apply here, and it probably doesn't apply in 99% of these cases. My client never actually told people about this till many years later. It wasn't like he was out there bragging about this sexual encounter with his teacher. It was thrusted upon him because the teacher ultimately, one of her nude photographs was caught by an adult, and she ultimately got arrested, and so that's what kind of brought him into this case. If he was so proud of this situation or happy about it, why didn't he talk about it earlier? Why didn't he discuss it? Because he wasn't. He was raped. He was put in a position where he didn't have that control, and that loss of control, that sits with him to this day. That he felt like this was a trusted adult. He had come to admire and trust this adult over the course of an entire school year. And the fact that that person would then use that trust to basically to gratify her, sexual desires is, that's a real devastating feeling for him because he really liked this person leading up to this. He trusted this person. I think that's part of that betrayal of trust is one of the most devastating parts of this case.
And where is your client now?
I don't want to be too specific because I'm trying my best to preserve his privacy. But what I'll tell you, he's a young adult and he's still in the community. So I'm sure he's still going to be hearing from people about this.
So let's talk now about the lawsuit. You're basically saying that the Gridley Unified School District should have known better. I mean, she was doing things like texting students, talking with them on social media, things of that nature, things that teachers and students shouldn't be doing with one another.
Yes. And at some point, someone in the administration spoke with Ms. Solis about her being overly friendly with these 8th grade boys. People noticed that she was acting unusually close with the boys and doing inappropriate things, and she was warned and just continued this type of behavior. So, I mean, it wasn't that they didn't even see it. They did see some of it. They just chose to think it wasn't I don't know exactly what they were thinking. I'm going to learn more about this in the course of the case, but in the end, they chose not to do much, and she continued to escalate her behavior.
Obviously, we're very early on in this process. You've just filed the suit. You will get discovery. Have you been in touch, though, with the DA in this case? Have they been able to give you any information at all that might help you in this suit to uncover information about, is there a smoking gun here with the school district, like a record that shows, they were aware that maybe she was doing more than, texting or whatever?
I haven't been in touch with the DA on this case, but I do have a lot of the police reports and I've been able to review those, and they do share some information, but there's much to learn from this case. And I think as we go through the discovery process, we're going to unveil a lot of that information. And my hope is also with with your coverage and the coverage of other media sources, that others with information will come forward, because it typically does. It takes one person, as you've probably noticed with the Sean Diddy Combs cases. One person comes forward, and then sometimes an avalanche of information will come out of that.
Exactly.
It takes that one brave person to get it started.
One thing that's pretty disturbing, the allegation in your suit, or one of the allegations in your lawsuit, is that Michelle Solis was getting people, colleagues of hers, to write passes for not only your client, but maybe other students.
Let me stop it right there for a second. Look at the picture, right? And I want to point out something. We hear all the time that people have they believe this fallacy that you can spot somebody who's a predator just by looking at them. Oh, that person looks creepy. They're probably a child predator. They're probably a PDF file. What, based upon their clothes? Based upon their hair? You can't tell. This is why education is so important. You look at her and she looks like teacher, happy person, looks normal, doesn't look like a predator. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just look at the outward appearance and just assume that you can trust people. You have to be educated in the tricks and the traps and in grooming processes and all of that stuff in order to be able to identify these people. They could be freaking Miss America, for crying out loud. It doesn't matter. Chief of police, we saw one arrested a couple of years ago. Principals of schools, it doesn't matter what their status is or their career. You know what I mean? Like their career, anything. You have to be educated.
To kind of hang out, spend lunch and recess with her, whatnot. So she was using other people to help her get access to your client. Talk to me about that aspect of this case.
Well, what that fact suggests to me is that a lot of these teachers were uninformed about this particular issue.
Bingo!
That brings to mind, okay, there's a lack of leadership here. Is if you have strong leadership, you train and educate your employees on these kind of situations. This is a clear kind of red flag situation. A teacher trying to summon a student to spend one-on-one time.
Yes.
That should ring a bell in the mind of some of these people that are writing those passes. But for all we know, they had no idea. And that falls on the leadership for the lack of training and education on this issue. At this time, we know how predators operate. There's a lot of literature on it. There's lots of great training. I just underwent a volunteer training myself, and I had to volunteer for my kids' fair. And there's a lot of great material to educate people on these situations. And when I see these kind of actions by teachers writing passes, my mind goes to, this person didn't know. She didn't know, or he didn't know.
What is your client's ultimate goal here? I mean, you're filing a lawsuit. You'd probably like to force some change within the district. But, obviously you're filing a lawsuit. So he's seeking some type of monetary compensation. Yeah.
So accountability will hopefully come in two forms here. One, monetary, and two, hopefully some change at this district. Hopefully there will be some education that comes from this, or some training from this, or some more additional protocols that come from this. That's the hope. But in the end, we need to hold the district accountable for this. Otherwise, it will continue.
Thank you.
Our civil justice system, leaves us these kind of options.
Mark Boscovich, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for covering the story. I really appreciate it.
All right. I'm telling you, the lawyer's even saying it. We hope that this lawsuit goes forward. We hope that the school is held accountable, that the teacher is sued, but more importantly, the school is sued. Because that's the language people understand is money. And like he said, lack of education and training. Now, we'll tell you that Protect Your Children Incorporated, back during a time when we had donations, we were able to go and put on protection conferences. That's one of the things we would like to do. We'd like to get back into the schools and back into the communities and host these protection conferences where we teach the protection guidelines to people and stream it live. We would like to go to these schools and say, hey, invite us in. We will teach on this subject and how kids could be protected. But let me tell you what that entails. That entails yours truly, some of you don't realize, that I work a full-time job outside of this organization to cover my own bills. It requires Marie, another director, our secretary, other people. Like, it would require them to put their money up. And we just can't afford to do that. But we're like over here going, hey, we'll go into the schools. We'll teach them. And then, it makes sense because then the school can say, look, we did our part. We warned the kids. We taught them how to spot predators. We did our part, and that could protect them from lawsuits. And in the same time, protecting the kids because it's teaching them to be aware. Sounds like a win-win. Even if it's not us, somebody invite some organization in there and start teaching these kids on how to be safe. Let the teachers that are predators in these school districts, in these school systems know that awareness is coming. So if you're thinking about doing this, you better get the hell out now. Something else has to be done. As we wrap up, I'll remind you that you can donate to help us out. As you can see, we have a lot of goals and objectives that we cannot reach because people are not donating. We cannot do it without your help. People are financially struggling. We understand that. So you can subscribe to our social medias. You can share our content. You can talk to others. There's lots of things that you can do. On the screen, you'll see we have website maintenance, hosting, and updating. We have advertising on social media that's promoting the content that we do on internet, radio, television, outdoor signage. We got printing costs. We have costs for hosting in-person and online conferences, including travel, hotels, food, teacher training materials. We actually teach people to present the protection information in their communities. That costs money to do too. Hosting and producing these podcasts right here. Shipping and printing promotional materials, other operating expenses. We have a lot of expenses. So if you can help us out, we really appreciate that. On a side note, we'll share this with you real quick. This is some breaking news, just kind of outside the scope here. Looks like the U.S. has struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites. Trump is going to address the nation tonight at 10 p.m. Be in prayer for that situation. It does have the possibility of exploding into a larger thing. But apparently the U.S. struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites. So that's just some breaking news right there. But we certainly hope that that conflict dies down because it's certainly not helping our kids and helping us, helping anybody when there's war. So thank you for being with us tonight. This is Chris for Protect Your Children Incorporated. This has been Child Protection Live, Saturday night, Child Protection Live. Please share the podcast, get the information out there. We covered a lot of stuff tonight. We understand that it's hard to hear these stories, but we have to put them out there. It's the only way people are going to become aware of how bad the situation is. And they need to start being proactive and protecting their children. This is why we do these shows. This is why we rely on you, our passionate protectors, to get out there and help us out in any way that you can. So we thank everybody who stuck with us tonight. God willing, we'll be back next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. Please plan to join us then and look for the podcasts. Within the next hour, it'll be posted on all of our social medias so you can share it and educate more people and protect more kids. Thank you for being here. Again, this is Chris with Protect Your Children Incorporated. You guys have a good night. Stay safe and God bless.